It's just another day in the life of a military wife. Today we're going to be talking about the United Service Organization, or the USO. And I know for myself, when I think of the USO, I usually imagine them doing, performances for the troops back in World War II, like Frank Sinatra or something like that, or the USOs that they have in the airports. And I don't think a lot of people understand the magnitude and the background of the USO. And there are a lot of really wonderful programs that they have that are a huge advantage to military families that are not common knowledge. So we're going to be talking about that today, as well as some experiences that I've had with the USO, and I absolutely love the USO. So I want to share that with you. I am Sam Wolf, and this is Life of a Military Wife. So let's dig into this. What is the USO? The USO was an organization founded in 1941 by the United States government to assist military personnel and their families. It has a government mandate. In other words, the government directed this organization to, happen. But it's an unfunded mandate, which means that the USO receives absolutely no government funding. They have the right to operate on U.S. military installations, in airports, even in deployed theaters, but they don't get any money. So the way that they gain their funds is by donations, and it is largely run by volunteers. So companies will donate and individuals will donate so that these programs can exist. And I think that's a very important point to start off with, because the USO does a lot for our service members and their families. And the whole reason it's possible is by donations and contributions by the community and corporations and individuals, as well as the hard work put in by volunteers. I know a lot of people who volunteer at the USO and give up a lot of their time to help these programs be a possibility, and I'm very grateful for them. So without further ado, let's get into what the USO does. And I think one of the most common associations people have with the USO nowadays is in airports. And that is honestly our family's first experience with the USO. My husband was injured in basic training, and he came back for block leave and had a layover, and he was able to get breakfast at the USO. And of course they saw an injured soldier and they're like, "Oh my goodness, do you have kids? What can we do?" And they sent him with some toys to give our son when he got home. So that was our first run-in with USO, and we were very grateful for their kindness and thoughtfulness. But honestly, I think the experience I'm the most grateful for with the USO happened when I was traveling home with one of my children who was a baby, and it was for a funeral, and my husband was not able to get leave, so he stayed behind with some of our kids, and I took the baby with me just because it was going to be hard for him to juggle all the kids without me there. So I got to the airport and found out my plane had been delayed, and it ended up being delayed for 7 hours, and they refused to give us a stipend or anything to get food. We were on a tight budget, so I didn't have money for food. I had a baby who needed to be able to take a nap. It was just miserable. So I made my way to the USO, and not only did they have snacks and water so that I can make more baby formula, like bottles, of water to mix with the baby formula, but they also had a quiet place where I could sit and rock my baby and give him a nap. And I was so grateful. While I was there, several other families came in and out, and there was actually another lady on my exact flight who was a service member's spouse and her baby, and in a similar situation as me. And honestly, I don't know how I would have survived 7 hours with an infant in an airport if it hadn't been for the USO and their help. So I'm very, very grateful for the things that the USO in the airports offer. And yeah, but basically they have computers, they've got snacks, they usually have got comfortable chairs. They're not very big, but it's better than nothing, especially when you have a long layover with kids. So I suggest you check those out next time you're traveling if you're a military family. The USO also sends care packages and supplies to soldiers who are deployed. And my husband received quite a bit of stuff when he was deployed. Another main way to connect with the USO is through their locations that are on the installations, military installations. And those or different locations can vary widely in what they provide. So I suggest that if you want to know what's going on with your local USO, that you find them on Facebook or through the location locator on the USO website, because they have lots of different amenities and it really is very different. We've been stationed several different places and they've had lots of different programs and abilities, and they've even changed location. Both places we've lived, they've changed buildings while we've been there. So lots of things change very frequently. And so I hate to promise this or that or the other thing and your particular USO doesn't have it. So I say go get on their Facebook, stay connected. They're always doing stuff, and they do have some things for families, but they are really trying to focus a lot on single soldiers as well. They do have internet usually that you can use, games. Sometimes they'll give out lunches to soldiers and their families, or sometimes just the soldiers, depending on the locations. A few have playrooms for kids, some have libraries. It's very, very different. That's why really go check yours out. Then that's the best way to find out what yours has. The next thing is events. The USO very frequently will get its hands on free tickets to events, like concerts or sporting, events. And again, that's hit or miss, and there's usually not a ton, and they go fast. But it's a good thing to pay attention to. It can be a cheap or free date, which is always amazing since budgets can be tight. And then they have other programs such as the military networking events for spouses. Recently, the one near me did one for Mother's Day, where it brought in different people from the community and offered the opportunity for us to network and get to know other spouses. And it was a great experience for me. I had the opportunity to talk to a few people about the podcast and see if I could get different people on. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about some of the things I learned. But it was a really great experience and I loved it. Another thing they do is coffee connections for spouses to get to know each other. And there's a lot of really great programs. So they really do try to take care of the spouses too. But again, their primary focus is the soldiers. The next and last one that I really wanted to hit on was the Pathfinder program. And going back to that networking experience that I went to, that is where I really got to learn more about the Pathfinder program. And if you've been in the military for a while, you've probably heard it mentioned, but I genuinely had no idea what the program was, even though I've heard about it peripherally for years. So the USO Pathfinder program is for active duty, reserve, National Guard, and military spouses. And it helps them with develop their professional skills, find jobs, things like that, prepare to transition out of the military. They can really help out with a lot of things, and the way they do that is with one-on-one mentorship and assistance with their specialists. So they have people who will help sit down and help you come up with an individualized action plan to meet your employment and educational and financial goals before you get out of the military, if you're a military service member, or if you're a spouse, to help you in general. And I was blown away with everything that they have. I had actually not really considered that. As a military spouse, there are ups and downs to being employed because of the unusual schedules that our husbands keep. And being able to find companies that will be interested in keeping you, even if you move to another place, is great. It's wonderful. And the Pathfinder specialist or professional who was talking to us was explaining that they work with lots of different companies. They work with lots of different companies trying to help them understand the value of a military spouse and how they're hardworking and dedicated. And they might only be around for a year or two, but I mean, you could hire someone who is less qualified or less dedicated and replace them in a year, or you could hire a military spouse who is going to have to be transferred but is going to give you their all. And there's a lot of companies, he said, even Home Depot is one of those companies that loves hiring military spouses because they see the quality and value of their work. And that made me feel really good. I know there's a lot of really hard-working, wonderful people in the economy who have these jobs normally, but it always feels daunting as a military spouse to try to explain to a potential employer that, oh, by the way, I need you to give me this job and I'd like you for me, to pay me well and give me benefits, but I'm going to be gone in a year or two. It's uncomfortable to do that. And so the fact that Home Depot particularly is quite fond of hiring military spouses and has people in all sorts of different logistic positions, that it's not just working in their stores. So if you have like computer skills or HR skills or other abilities, you can work for Home Depot in capacities outside of cashier and just store employee. Although if you want to do that, I'm sure they have openings as well. And I was really excited to hear about that. I know quite a few military spouses who, now that their kids are in school or pretty much grown, are going, oh my goodness, what am I going to do next? Or how am I going to finish my career? Or how am I going to brush up and refresh on my career so that I can be marketable? And they will sit down and work through that with you. And I had the opportunity, when he opened it up to questions, to ask how soon you should go in to start working with them before you ETS, if you're military. And he was saying that he recommended that military members who are transitioning out of the military go in as soon as a year before they ETS so that they can start helping them set goals and make plans. And he said the reason for this is because so many service members say, I'm done, I'm getting out, I'm good, I'm moving on. But they don't really have a very clear plan. And if they do have a clear plan, they are very frequently unaware of the opportunities available to them to help them with their transition. And one thing we recently discovered was Hire Our Heroes, which is a program that helps find internships and jobs for transitioning military personnel. So Hire Our Heroes will do internships that you can do prior to getting out and then end up with a job. And so you don't have to go job hunting after you get out of the military. You'll already have one set up. And that is a level of peace of mind that, as a spouse, I particularly appreciate, because I know that when we get to that point, when we're transitioning, one of my biggest concerns is finding a job that will meet our family's financial needs as well as provide the medical benefits that we're going to need as well, because insurance is no joke. It's important, and the fact that they have people trained to help you find what's best for you and your family is so comforting. And so they also have mentorships and financial readiness. Now, I think we have done a pretty good job in our marriage of trying to be financially ready and get out of debt, but not everyone has those skills, and that's okay. It's all right to need to acquire those skills. And I'm so grateful that the military has lots of different programs and organizations that will help you with your financial skills. And I've had a couple people mention that I should do a episode about the resources, financial resources and things like that. If you're interested, leave a comment, let me know, and I'll get to that. But I know that having a financial plan, knowing how to budget, those things are really super helpful. And just having someone to be accountable to is also great, because he said that he has had individuals in there and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to get out, I'm going to do this, and this. And they're like, okay, well, how are you going to accomplish that? Oh, I don't know. That's what I want to do. Okay. Well, you probably should finish your degree. You probably should do this. And educational opportunities are also things that sometimes as military spouses, we're not as aware of what's out there for us. So the fact that they have those resources available to help explain are amazing. So that said, I'm pretty much wrapping this up a little bit early this week, but I just want to say how grateful I am for the USO. It has helped us during those crazy trips with the locations in the airports. It's also been a place where I could take my kids on a snowy day when nothing else was open. During COVID, one of the things I loved the most that the USO did was they painted rocks with USO on them, and then they hid them all over post. And if you found them, they had like a prize for you. And I thought that was a brilliant way to get people out and doing stuff with all the craziness of this last year. But at the same time, it was, fitting the parameters of what was expected. Anyway, I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have any questions about the USO, you can ask me, but I also recommend strongly that you contact your local USO. They are kind and friendly and wonderful. When we got to our current duty station, the first place we went was to the USO. It gave us the opportunity to, I think, print out some things we needed because we didn't have our printer, and use the internet and get lunch. And then we got talking to one of the volunteers, and he happened to know several realtors that he was able to recommend to help us with our house hunt. And I was so grateful just to have a place where I could relax that wasn't the hotel room. So thank you to the USO, to all of its employees and volunteers who make all of those things possible for us and our families. We are grateful to you for your service and sacrifice and how you help us through our hard times. So that's a wrap for today. I am Sam Wolf, and this is Life of a Military Wife.